you go. Sitting around, nowhere to go. You're talking to Jane, you're talking to Joe. Talking to Jane.
What's up, guys? Long time no talk. I'm sure you've noticed a little bit of rebrand in the channel. We are going with Lieutenant Chamberlain's leadership schoolhouse. Why the change? Well, a couple things. One, I'm no longer with the OCS program. I've been gone for about a year and a half now, back into the real world, if you will, and loving things over there. For the last year, I have been just over a year, been a platoon sergeant for a headquarters platoon in a infantry support company, so FSC, if you will. Anyway, really, I just ran the cooks and the supply people around like crazy. That was my job, as the platoon sergeant there. So just last month, or actually this month, 21 days ago or something, the Army finally decided that I had what it takes to be a lieutenant. So I have officially commissioned and pinned on the 1st of October, and have now taken over as a platoon leader in a signal company. End up branching signal, looking to make the most out of that. It is what it is, right? I was trying to get away from transportation because that's what I had been doing, or logistics for the branch, because that's what I did for my first 14 and a half years in the military, and then spent or 13 and a half, I guess. Then spent 5 years going through and being an educator, being a TAC at OCS. And then I actually reclassed as a cook last February just to take an E7 spot as this headquarters platoon sergeant. Anyway, long story short, I'm now a signal officer. I have commissioned. I finally did the thing. As some of you know, if you've been watching the channel long, that was not, we did not think that was actually in the cards. So things are good now. Have reported to one drill. I think it's going to be wonderful. I'm very excited about the new command and the new folks in my unit, my platoon. Looking forward to getting to know them and learning the signal side. I'm excited for Bullet coming up next year, early next year. Got a seat very quickly. All things are looking great. But that's not what we're here for. We are here to talk about the new Pete Hegseth's new memos that he just dropped. The Secretary of War, they're starting to come in. So we're going to cover these one at a time. And so today we're going to talk about the one over, see if I can get it up here. Okay, so we've got grooming standards for facial hair implementation. So as you all know, the the chaos of medical and religious beards has been going for a long time in our state, and I'm sure in others, because I've heard it when we were on our last deployments. People going to Crossroads for National Guard were, at Crossroads you can kind of ask for the world and see what they'll give you to stay in, because our numbers have been so low. A lot of people are getting shaving profiles just as a reward for staying in the National Guard. So shaving profiles have become a thing. They look hideous. Like, it doesn't matter what your reasoning is. It doesn't matter if it's religious. It doesn't matter if it's medical. You look ridiculous with a beard and uniform. Look, SF guys, we're going to see as we go through this memo that, the SF guys get to keep theirs. That's fine. Whatever. They've always been the golden children, and is obviously necessary. So zero qualms with that. But walking around a infantry platoon or a mess section or a transportation company, and everyone is wearing beards because of, apparently all of a sudden we're a bunch of Norse Vikings. It's getting chaotic. I think those in the know knew that it was going to come to an end. It had been overused. More than that, though, it was stopping people's careers, even if they didn't think it would. Right? You weren't going very far if you show up for a board and you've got this beard. Not to mention they were growing these things out like huge. Like, I remember seeing multiple soldiers that had, maybe it would say ½ inch or whatever, and they've got 3 inches of hair on their face. Like, anyway. So we're going to get through the grooming standards for facial hair implementation. Just kind of look at some of the stuff that matters to you. You can Google this and look it up, okay? And you can read through all the stuff that you want. Here's what you need to know, though. Number one, we're saying we're doing this for safety reasons, for the ability to use a gas mask. I think that's kind of one of the oldest things in the book that I'm not sure that our mask would stop the Sebring type stuff that we would run into. But it is a piece of equipment. We're going to use it. So you got to be able to use it. So that's what he's saying. The standards are a lot of them are going back to a stricter time. And I'm pretty excited about it. So joining the military, all applicants, you're going to have a shaved face. If you can't, you're not joining the military, basically. You'll be unable to comply. You will be deferred from ascension or coming into the military until standards are met. So if you refuse whatever, you'll have to go somewhere and shave your face. You've got to meet the standards or you can't be in the military. In-service compliance. So if you're already in, boom, right off the bat, all personnel must maintain a clean-shaven face. Sideburns will be above the ear opening. That's not new. That's pretty much been the same thing. Beards, goatees, other facial hair prohibited unless specifically authorized. And he'll give some reasons here in a minute they can be authorized. Mustaches are authorized but neatly trimmed. Mine's probably a little bit outside my face or my the corners of my mouth. I'm pretty interested to see where this goes because he puts an or, not an and. Okay, so not to extend past the mouth corners or into a respirator seal zone. I assume the narrowest of the two. So if your respirator is a type that's going to cover some of your mouth, you may have to shave it even more. And then you look like Hitler, so you just shave it off. There we go. Special Operations Forces may request modified standards, but they will be clean-shaven when deployed to environments with a high threat of Sebring. So even they have limitations. Let's get into those accommodations. Medical accommodations reverting back to a pre-2020 standards. Only temporary profiles for medical conditions are going to be considered. So you're no longer going to get a permanent medical profile for a beard. If you've got a reasoning to have it, it has to be treated. It says right here, profiles will be limited to 12 months and must include a treatment plan. So basically, if you can't get it treated within 12 months, well, we'll look at that down the road. All requests require individualized review for operational impact. Permanent conditions will result in evaluation for administrative separation. Okay, so that's a big one to know. If you can't get whatever it is fixed within 12 months, where it needs to become a permanent thing, then you're likely looking at administrative separation. All right, religious accommodations. So that covers medical. Religious department will revert to pre-2010 standards. Facial hair waivers are generally not authorized. And we're going to get into in a minute. Trying to kind of put the genie back in the bottle is going to be the hardest part, I think. But he stands his ground pretty good here. So individual review required I'm speaking like crazy. Department of War instruction. It gives you some stuff. Religious liberty in the military service of September 1, 2020. Documentation demonstrating the sincerity of the religious or sincerely held belief will be a central factor in evaluating accommodation request and must be sufficient to support a good faith determination by the approving authority. So no more of this. Like I remember coming up, we heard if you could take this weird test or something, you could prove you were a Jedi Knight, and then all of a sudden you could put Jedi on your dog tags, right? Like it's ridiculous. So having this documentation demonstrating sincerity or religious sincerely held belief, I'm really anxious to see where that comes because it's still fairly subjective. I think one of the biggest thing here is it says approvals will be limited to non-deployable roles with low risk of chemical attack or firefighting requirements. National Guardsmen, and I assume the Army too, but the active duty, but I'm not an active duty guy, so I don't truly know. But I know the National Guard, if you can't deploy, that kind of takes you out of use. We only get a few days a year to train anyway. And then really what we're training for is that deployment, whether it be overseas or a stateside deployment. But if you're deemed non-deployable, it's a pretty good push to kind of get rid of those types. So be pretty interested to see how that works with religious accommodations. Training and certification. So this, you can go through and read kind of some of the rest of this. You have to do an annual training to validate your mask fit and reinforce your grooming compliance. It goes on and on about just you got to integrate training, deployment and personnel tracking. Non-compliant personnel due to refusal, exemption, denial, or failed tests will be flagged as non-deployable in the appropriate military service personnel system. Repeated noncompliance, once again, you get administratively separated. So moving on here to the last piece, kind of the implementation timeline. This is just basically how long till this takes place. And that's kind of the question we've all asked since he had his big speech with all the leadership. And everything that I can find says this right here. So they're going to have an implementation plan to the Undersecretary of War and Readiness within 60 days. And it tells what it's got to have. And then it goes on to say that you need to be able to implement it in 30 days. So secretaries of military departments will publish implementing directives no later than 30 days following the submission of their implementation plan. So 60 days to get it in. Once you get it in, you get 30 days to have it implemented. So, we're looking at 90 days from when this was posted, which was September 30th is when it's dated. It's October 22nd when I'm reading this. So that would mean that we're already into that 90-day period pretty quick. So once again, they enforce here or restate that this is not about appearance. It's about survivability, interoperability, and mission execution. That's something. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the screen. That's something that we focused on. I was supporting 1st Battalion 279 Infantry Regiment here in Oklahoma for a while, and the 45th commander basically came down and said, we're focusing on survivability and lethality. That's our two main things now. So for something to come down and say, hey, this is all about survivability, just kind of adds on. That's where we're headed, right? We're headed back to that. Do things that make sense in a survivability standpoint. Not necessarily the coin, not necessarily like all these things that we've been dealing with for the last 20 years since I got in. We're not dealing with those anymore. So pretty interested to see how this is all going to work out and see what that looks like. Are they actually going to kick any guys out? I know in Oklahoma our numbers are pretty low, so I'm excited to see everyone just join in, right? Just everyone's got to comply. I'm excited to see people comply and get back to looking like a respectable force. It doesn't matter which, the beard looks ridiculous. I would love it too. I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate shaving once a month to go to drill, but I do it because I'm supposed to. Wearing them, I would just feel stupid. I wouldn't be able to do it even if it was, if I was on some kind of profile. So, looking forward to see how it all works out. Thank you all for jumping back into the channel, working with me through this rebrand as we get moving into more overall leadership studies and development rather than just OCS. I will continue on with some OCS development and working with my people that are there that are still doing the school, and maybe even we'll try to get some guests on and people have recently gone through OCS so we can fill out what it looks like now, what does success look like, etc. Looking forward to BOLIC, looking forward to my first year as a lieutenant. Thank you for stopping by the schoolhouse. It's Lieutenant Chamberlain. Remember to own it.
Then my recruiter came to me. Say what you want to be. Say what you want to be. I told